Big red flag is when promotions are based on popularity and not performance. Now, this is technically everywhere, but if it is in grandiose, in-your-face kind of way where it's very clear that really bad workers are being promoted in lieu of incredibly talented workers, and this is kind of a widely known thing amongst the staff, then yes, at that point it does become a red flag. Because it's really just the employees who get close to leadership or are liked, you know, they're going to get promoted regardless of results, and that can just hurt morale. So, Kiki, my recent graduation, nay. That's me. It's been a while since we've done this, little T. I'm a little rusty.
It is. It has been.
Celebrating.
Facts. We are just party animals out here on Fremont with our 91-year-old grandpa.
It was good.
It's my favorite line. It was.
Right? But now we're back in action, and we're here today to talk about promotions.
Love to hear it. Need one. Hashtag need that.
Hashtag definitely need that. I don't think you're going to get a 50-cent raise until you promotion A.
Dude, but that would be like a whole dollar. So then I'd be making $14, dude. Imagine.
Woo! Oh, man. The dollar store hates to see you coming.
Chill, bro.
Okay, talking about promotions, let's cover the basics here. So there's a handful of types of promotions. You have your classic vertical promotion. This is just a move upward, right? Higher level position, more responsibilities, more authority, and I would say almost always you're going to see some compensation bump. So we talked about raises, right? Similar thing here. Then you have lateral promotions, which is basically you got a different role at the same level, but you're on a different team. Sometimes there's going to be some expanded scopes, maybe additional skill set development, or even just like you have the right title to create the right influence within a business. Because your greatest power, no matter what role you are in, is your level of influence on how the business operates.
Right.
Then you have a dry promotion, which is more responsibility, no pay. So we
hate to hear it. Don't need that. Hashtag do not need that.
Right. Exactly. Let the tweeters know. Then you have a temporary or acting promotion. So it's very circumstantial, but let's say your director leaves. A lot of the times they're going to take a while to fill that role. And so what they'll do is they'll part-time or temporarily promote somebody maybe for 3-6 months, something like that. And they'll fill like a temp role of that vacancy until the leader is either A, back from leave, right? So let's say they go on pregnancy leave. Somebody needs to be in that position for 3 months. Or if they leave the company and they're backfilling the role or they're restructuring or something else is going on in the business, the idea is this person just, put me in, coach, and then they do.
Right.
Then you have your honorary or symbolic promotions. Think of this as the gold star on your worksheet, right? So
love those.
It's a small little title or maybe some recognition status or some form of an achievement, but usually there's no change in your job duties or pay. A good example of this would be everybody loves a pizza party. Right? Your whole team goes to a pizza party. But only one person can hold the responsibility of planning the team pizza party. Okay? And if HR isn't that person, then it might just be you. And you might just become the designated pizza party planner, which is an honorary term not many get to hold. So, bottom line, it's kind of BS, but like, hey, it is what it is. It's a gold star.
Right.
You can throw it on your resume. You can get something out of it. If they ask you, when's the last time you fulfilled a leadership role? Oh, designated pizza party planner. It was a big time job. Me and Domino's were going back and forth for days.
No, you didn't.
All right. Like Papa John's was pulling me too hard. They just got on my last nerve. Had to make a last minute switch. You don't know. Okay. You don't know.
Right.
And there's a lot of ways you can spin things. Okay, then you're going to have your skills-based or specialist promotion. So in the corporate world, everybody starts as an individual contributor, which is just an individual who contributes to business. Mm-hmm. As you become a better individual contributor, you are more capable, more experienced. You just know what you're doing more, right? So now that you've worked at this company for like half a year, right? You know a lot more than you did your first month.
Yeah.
And so as you move up in the corporate world, there are two directions you can go. You basically start as an individual contributor. You then move into senior type roles. So that's like the highest level you can get within that specialty, within that realm. And then at this point, you start to move into being a manager of things or being a manager of people. And those are the two separate kind of growth paths you can go. Management is higher money a lot of the time, but as a specialist, you can also be paid and compensated extremely well. Right? Like some of the top engineers make way more than you'd ever imagine. So skills-based promotions are basically that initial part where you're moving up in an expertise area. Then you have a term called like dual track promotion, which is exactly what I just described. Either moving into management or a manager of things type role.
Okay.
And then you have cross-functional promotions, pretty simple, but at the end of the day, this is where you're moving into new areas of the business with your workload and within your scope. And you're basically increasing your capabilities. So good example of this would be, for example, if you're like an operations manager and you move into a product manager role. Somewhat similar functions, but also completely different scope.
Different? Yeah.
Right? And so cross-functional promotions are cool. Then you have the worst of the worst, which is title-only promotions. And this is when you're going to receive a more senior title that's going to reflect your responsibilities, maybe, all of the work you're doing. But there's no change in your duties or your compensation, so it's really just a basic kind of switch. A good example of this is like, if you're an account manager, you will become a senior account manager at some point. But your job doesn't change.
Yeah.
You still do account management. You're just better at it than other people.
Right.
Now you have various forms of promotions that they can come in. So title changes, obviously salary increases, expanded scope is another one where basically you are managing more people, more projects, or even departments at a certain point. Typically a part of every promotion, I would say, is you're going to have some change into what is within your scope. Okay, in addition to expanding your scope, another form that promotions can take is contractual or tenure-based. Today, fun topic, kind of following what we discussed last time, but a little bit separate. We are talking about promotions.
Awesome.
Similar to raises in the sense of like it's a signal that you're moving up, but this is the more formal corporate structure of couple things. I guess we start covering with just the types, because there's many different types of promotions. All of them are the same basis of like you are in a higher role than you were before. But you have vertical promotions. This is a move up to a higher level position, more responsibilities, authority, and ideally compensation. So just moving up, right? Then you have a lateral promotion, which is where you move to a different role at the same level. There's usually going to be like additional scope in your role, maybe some additional skills development, or you could have additional influence. So
what's the scope?
Good question. Scope is like everything that's underneath your purview. So in a less jargony world, right, you as my sister have an endless scope. I could call on you for everything from removing a dead body to telling me what you think of my outfits to doing a podcast with me, right? Endless scope.
Right.
When you're in a business context, you have a very specific scope. Right? especially when you're in a larger organization. So, for example, in your current role right now, your scope includes stocking, payments, things like that, but you cannot close on your own.
Right.
That's out of scope for you.
Okay.
So a lateral position is basically you're the same level that you were before, but a lot of the times you have like more access, more responsibility, more things like that. But you
Okay.
change. Then you have a dry promotion. This is the worst. This is when you get titles and responsibilities, but you don't get any money.
Oof.
It's more common than you'd think. Especially sometimes what you see is temporary or acting promotions. So a lot of times when companies have a missing role, they'll promote somebody short term into that position just to make sure that all of the work is getting covered.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't usually get the same recognition. You don't get the same level of compensation necessarily. It's usually just a temporal. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of move in your hierarchy within a company. Then you have some things like honorary or symbolic promotions. This is like the pizza party of promotions in a sense. It's kind of like you can get a title or perhaps a recognition status or maybe some form of an achievement. A good example of this is if you have a team and then somebody on your team is assigned the role of party planner, pizza party planner specifically. That is an honorary symbolic promotion. They get no pay, They get nothing, but they are in charge of the pizza party. Okay, and they do have authority. Exactly. Then you have like skills-based or specialist promotions. So in reality, in this world, there's two ways you move up, right? Mm-hmm. You have a person, you start out as an individual contributor. An individual contributor means exactly what you think it is. You are an individual and you contribute, right? As you move up as an individual contributor, you become more senior and expertise in what you know. Mm-hmm. So you want to go into dentistry. Mm-hmm. Where you're at right now, nothing. You know nothing. You have no expertise. In 4 years from now, you're going to have a little bit more expertise. In 4 years from then, you're going to have even more expertise. And your level of seniority and kind of professional skill set develops. So sometimes you're going to see promotions that are exclusively based on that skill development. Because instead of being a junior analyst, now you're a mid-level or a senior analyst just because you've developed the skills.
Right.
The other side of it is management promotion. So you can either grow into an extreme expert and become the manager of things, tasks, projects, things like manager of things, right? Or you can move into the management of people. And those are like the two growth paths. So yeah, I know a lot of people who have gone their entire careers never managing people because it just wasn't for them. And I've also worked for a lot of crappy managers that were really blind to the fact that management was not their skill set.
Yeah.
So just... okay, then you also have dual track promotions, which is basically where you can move into management or, like I mentioned, now like this more senior individual contributor track where you now are a manager of things and not just, one thing at a time. Then you have cross-functional promotions. You can get moved into a new function, a new business area. You can see this happen sometimes too. Companies do restructurings. We'll talk about it in the layoffs episode more, but restructurings is basically a company says, these 3 departments suck. We're going to give 2 different names and migrate people into 2 different functions. And kind of just changing the core mechanism of how the business and organization operates, right? And so in those situations, you can have cross-functional promotions because you're going to move over to a new function. You might be in a new business area. It's going to broaden your career path a little bit. And then, of course, you have title-only promotions. This can happen usually with more of the individual contributor roles, as I mentioned before, like the skills track. And really what it is you move slowly into more senior activities and more senior roles. So you go from being an account manager, nothing fancy there, to a senior account manager. But you do all the same crap.
Right.
You're just more senior.
Right.
There's a couple ways you can see a promotion take form, right? So you have your top title change, obviously. The most important one, the salary increase, isn't always guaranteed, but is always wanted. There's then expanded scope, which you see this happen a lot of times to people where they just continuously expand their scope, but they do not get paid or recognized more. So you gotta watch your back. Then you have things like reclassifications formally within a company via HR. And then time old here is like a tenure or a contractual based achievement. So I'm sure you've heard in like TV shows and movies when they talk about professors being tenured.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You've heard, right? So basically what that is after a professor has worked at a college for 10 years, they enter 10. And they're untouchable.
Oh.
That's the idea, is like, good luck firing these guys. Because they've stayed along so vastly within a company that they basically are a part of, quote unquote, family or whatever jargon it is. All right, so in addition to an expanded scope, another form it can take is contractual or tenured-based advancement or promotions. This is basically when you work somewhere for so long, or it's really common in government roles or in union environments, but it's basically there's fixed structures and there's certain milestones that you meet, and as you meet those, you're kind of rewarded. So I'm sure you've heard of tenure professors at colleges.
Yeah.
Teachers that are on tenure. And basically all that is after a professor's worked at a college for over a decade, the idea is they're virtually untouchable in a sense. They have a lot more seniority. They have a lot more authority within the school. How true that is, I don't know. But I do know, some teachers use their tenure for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Okay, enough about what it is. Let's talk about what really matters, which is how the hell do you get a promotion?
Right.
There's a couple ways. I think the one way that we all know / propaganda in our upbringing makes us believe this, but excelling in your current role is obviously the easiest and most common way to get into a new position. Now, I think something that we've also learned after all of the conversations we've had is it isn't just doing a good job at the work, right? It's really creating the perception that you are excelling in your role. And that's critical, right? So promoting yourself, promoting your achievements, promoting everything you've done is going to give leadership and other people around you the perception that you're consistently exceeding expectations. Oh, well, you could not be doing that. You could be doing less. You could be taking credit for somebody else's stuff. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the idea is just make sure you promote what you've accomplished and what you've done. And other people may try to take credit for your work, so make sure you're the one who does it.
Yeah.
Another one, very common, is you just start taking on more responsibilities, right? Higher level, maybe something your manager does, you take it off their plate. But the idea is you really just start operating at the next level before the title comes. And the idea is the title will come later. This is really more of a strategic play. Like you volunteer yourself, you put yourself up for certain opportunities. And it really is just extra work. So take that as you wish.
But in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. And I think also if you're doing a good job on conveying a strong perception that you're doing a lot in your current role, you can always, let's say, exaggerate how much work is on your plate and you are now willing to take on more.
Oh, I do that all the time anyway. I exaggerate everything at work.
Exactly. Good, you're learning. All right. One of the more obvious ones, but not so obvious, is asking for it directly. So Obviously, don't walk into your manager's office and say, "Ayo, hit me up with that promotion right now." That's not gonna work.
DM me whenever, or
hit me back.
hit me back
Whenever it's convenient for you.
Right.
It's obviously not that. This is more of a dedicated conversation. Maybe it's in your one-on-one. Maybe you schedule some time aside and you just have a conversation with your manager to express that you have interest. That's it. I want to have a promotion, or I'm interested in this higher role. Any of these things, it's going to help you a lot, because at that point in time, your manager can now become your supporter. They can help train you. They can help teach you things, right? Like our brother was up for a promotion, and when he talked to his manager about how he wanted to do this, his manager was shocked. Not in a bad way, but just like, I wish you would have told me. I could have been training you this whole time. I could have been teaching you these things this whole time.
Yeah.
So put your intentions out there, right? Now, in the similar fashion, you can also just express your interest during a company's review cycle. So every year, companies typically give you full annual reviews, right? We talked about that. And when that cycle comes, that's usually when they start giving out promotions.
I see.
That's usually like the time of the year. Sometimes they happen other times, but that's usually when it's going to happen. Now, some super large companies require applications for promotions. So that would be a way of like expressing your interest, because you essentially apply for said promotion or for said role. And they can be pretty extensive, right? Kind of combining all of your successes within the company to one big argument, getting feedback from customers, from clients. Like I've had to provide quotes for people being like, this person kicks ass. They changed my whole life. And all that kind of stuff, right? And then you pack it into one beautiful little large Word document, and you send it to HR. And you pray to the Lords that you get the job.
Not gonna pray.
Hey now.
And
this episode was brought to you by the church. Oh, no, I'm kidding. This is God's work, though, I could say.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
We're helping the world. We're helping the world here. Okay, next you've got lateral moves that are going to lead upwards. So this is transferring to a new department. Sometimes departments are really well developed and established, and so there's not a whole lot of change, right? Which means there's a lot less growth opportunities. You're going to hear this all the time. Sometimes when you interview somebody or you're interviewing somewhere else and they ask you, why'd you leave this business? A lot of times your response is going to be for growth opportunities, because there weren't any in my previous role or in my previous company. Then critical part is joining or creating your own high impact initiatives. This is a great way to, one, quote unquote, excel in your role, right? Or give the perception that you're excelling in your role. But two, it's a critical way to start developing skills for further down the line. When your high impact initiatives are usually cross-functional, so that means maybe legal's in the room, maybe other delivery teams are in the room, maybe, I don't know, if your shipments in the room, vendors are in the room, like it is usually with more people than just yourself, which is amazing. Because if you're outside of the realm of your expertise, you're going to learn more.
Yeah.
You're going to learn about how other departments operate, how they act, what they care about, which is really important. But you're also going to network. Everything is about network. Who you know, how you know them. And working with people on a job is one of the best ways to build a strong network.
Yeah.
And so find ways to volunteer for these projects or create these projects or lead projects around this front, because at the end of the day, every executive that you see, part of the reason why they're in that role is because they play nice with everyone else. They know how to work with finance. They know how to deliver results to the marketing team. They know how to do any of these things that aren't necessarily within their immediate core function. And that's what makes them so nice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, not as common, similar to some of the other ones, but being included in somebody's succession planning. So succession planning is when somebody's making a plan for when they leave the company. And this is usually where a lot of leadership is required with HR to create succession plans, and it's a little bit more formalized, right? Because HR sits there sometimes, obviously not in each of the sessions, but they're a part of the process, and they have documentation for it. And basically, they just quite literally give a play-by-play of how you will take over that role. And they outline it. So.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, I mean, I think the minute one of my old bosses realized I was the succession plan and then the owner of the company agreed with that, I'm pretty sure that's when I started getting pushed out. But then again, this wasn't a good boss. So I guess it's, this is why we survive them. You must know their mechanisms.
Red flag.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so what to expect? Just like, what's the process here? So obviously you're going to demonstrate your readiness. You're going to show how great you are, showcasing how amazing everything you've done is, creating the right perception about yourself, all of those good things. Then there's going to be some form to initiate this conversation, whether it's you to your manager, you to an application, any of those things, you're going to start that conversation. Then your manager is usually going to help you build the case. This is either your manager promoting you internally within their network, or they quite literally are helping you with all of the paperwork and all of the, extracurriculars required here.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be some form of an internal review. Sometimes it's timed with specific dates. Sometimes it's not timed with specific dates. And then decisions, approvals, and last but not least, hopefully you're moving into that new big shiny title, updating your LinkedIn, and living your best life.
Not the LinkedIn.
What can I say? It's an important part of certain industries, not all.
Yes.
All right, little T, it's time for our favorite segment. Boss POV.
Uh-oh.
I feel like we need more managers here. I've only given out so many promotions, but I have done it a handful of times. Obviously, it's great. Obviously, it's exciting. Always fun to give out a promotion. I think sometimes managers don't want you to lose hope. I've been on the sidelines of conversations where I've known certain, let's say, departments only had so many promotions that they were allowing per year. And managers know that. They don't always tell you that.
Ooh.
So whether it's maybe their own doing, maybe it's the company telling them not to, who knows, but.
So you choose who gets the promotion?
It depends. Like I said, so if you're in a company where the process is submitting an application and there's whole committees reviewing it, it's different.
Right.
If it's at a smaller business, oftentimes your manager might be deciding it. But also at a smaller business, you're probably not going to have we're only giving 3 people a raise or a promotion or this. That's not going to really be there.
Yeah.
So I think it does come down to your company. But at the end of the day, promotions are like any other mechanism in business. There are set forth rules. There are always ways to manipulate the rules. There are always ways to go around the rules. But most importantly, is it still a game?
Yeah.
You still have to play the game. Yeah. I remember I was in Europe giving somebody a promotion because I asked if I could do it. Because technically they weren't my direct report anymore, but they were in my department. And this was somebody that I worked with for a long time. And we're having this conversation and we're talking about the promotion. We're talking about the new roles. We're talking about all the responsibilities, all these fun things. And it's a great time. We're having a blast. But what really, I think in this moment of planning for the promotion, this person expressed it to me a year and a half before. Quite literally, probably 2 years. Honestly, I was super impressed because they came in, learned about them, we did a little work, and then I kind of course, as any manager does, asked them what their future goals were, where they wanted to grow with the business, all these things. And they flat out there, I want to manage people. I want to be a manager. And I was like, all right, that's the goal. Let's figure out how to get there, right? And I think...
And he got it.
He got it. Oh, he got it.
Wow.
And the only thing that ever stood in between him and being, I think, a manager was just he was too good, so he would do everything. And as a manager, you have to know when to say no. You have to know when to walk away or to delegate or to do any of those things. Right. And it took a little bit of time to like train that muscle and incorporate feedback that he was getting on the day-to-day job. We fucking crushed it. Yeah. Still to this day, one of the favorite colleagues I've ever worked with.
What a guy.
I know. And so I think like that type of scenario is... It was expressed, it was deliberate. Now for me, when I was getting promotions, quite literally it was never expressed in my experience. It wasn't that it wasn't obvious I wanted to move up in the company. I think that was a given considering how much I worked and how much extra time I put in and all of the, you know, pizza party designation planning that I did, like big time stuff, okay?
Yeah.
But a lot of the times I would get offers for promotion or for a raise because either A, I mentioned how somebody else was trying to hire me, and then the company would get scared and just make action before I even have to think about it. Or B, there would be like large company promotions, like, you know, reorgs, restructuring, all this stuff. And we would basically be planning the direction of the company. And as a part of that plan, I would be moving up.
Wow. That's
so crazy. I think, listen, your boss wants to give you the promotions. Your boss also wants a promotion. Right. Remember that. So at the end of the day, everybody's in this game. Play the rules, manipulate the rules, and document everything.
Yes, paper trails.
Paper trails. All right. Mentality check, little T. So I think with promotions, it's a little similar to raises, not going to lie. Okay. Some of the overlying theories are the same case, right? So one of the biggest ones is that promotions are purely based on hard work and strong performance. As we know, this is BS.
Yeah.
Right. Promotions are a matter of politics, timing, visibility, business needs. There's so many factors that go into you getting a promotion. And people who advocate for themselves and build relationships are going to be the ones that move up the fastest. Right? So the right way to really think about this is I must recognize that getting promoted requires more than just doing a good job. It also involves strategy, advocacy, and timing. A couple extra things here. So how do you take action? Network. Build relationships. And then once you've done that, brag about all of your achievements in a tasteful manner. Yeah. Ideally tasteful. You don't want to be the annoying guy who just like shows everybody their report card. You know, that's not cool.
Right.
Right. You want to be the guy who's like casually walking up to be salutatory and even though everyone thought he failed. That's the kind of person you want to be, you know what I mean? But you want people to know you did a lot in this school.
Yeah.
And then, you know, once again, just clearly express your career goals. Like I said, that the one employee that I had that made it very clear to me, like I had employees that just told me they want to make more money or they care about certain things. But this one employee was like, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be by the time I leave here. Crushed it. Gave us a target and we marched. Okay. Another big misconception is if I just wait my turn, the promotion will come. I think this is just a fallacy that people fall into because you believe a company cares about you as much as you care about the company. But the news flash here is they don't give a shit about you most of the time, I would say. Yeah. You are a fish in their sea. And you can be easily replaced. And most importantly, promotions are not automatic. Yeah. Raises are not automatic. A lot of these things are not automatic, just mechanisms in business. A company would never be like, oh, let's just pay everybody more and give them higher titles because that's what we do every 5 years.
Right,
no.
Right.
So this whole concept of eventually it will come, or as long as I work hard and keep my head down long enough, you're just assuming that somebody's going to notice you and you're going to be like a Cinderella.
Not the Cinderella.
Okay. You're going to be like Pretty Woman. Someone's going to stumble upon you and notice you. Okay. And then they're going to make you all shiny. It's not going to happen.
Not happening.
So what's the right way to think of it? Well, you got to take ownership of your growth. You have to initiate conversations and you have to make your goals known. The first step of doing anything is announcing it. Right? Like they say when you're recovering from addiction, the first step is admitting you have a problem. Because once you admit it, you can now take action against it. So if you want a promotion, but you don't tell anybody you want a promotion, you basically don't want a promotion.
I feel like a lot of people also think it's implied that they want a promotion as well. Like, well, they should know I want a promotion, but like, how do we know?
Is that your boyfriend? Why you expect your company to read your mind? You know what I mean? There's
I can't even get my man to read my mind. What makes you think a company is going to read your mind?
A company of men, to be exact. Like, yeesh.
Old men. Oosh, yeah, no, it's definitely not going to happen.
About dinosaurs up here sometimes, and you're expecting them to read the lines? Absolutely not. I think.
Yeah, no.
One thing that I came to terms with when I was really young, and it kind of changed the way I saw the world, is I am not like everyone else.
Yeah.
And that is a mechanism that's great. It's not a bad thing. Well, it makes me me, right? But it also creates this incredible naiveness when I didn't acknowledge that. Because people would do things and I'd be like, why would they do that? Right?
Yeah.
And I was only wondering why, because me, myself, I would never do that. But there are so many people in this universe. If there is an idea, if there is something, you're not unique. It's probably been thought of. We're talking billions of people here.
Right.
You know? And so just because you think someone else will think like you, you are wrong.
Yeah. Especially
in the workplace. Because in the workplace, it is quite literally a conglomerate of incredibly different people. Sure, you might have some similar cultures. You guys might have some similar values and some similar interests. But at the end of the day, Dave that's sitting 3 chairs down from you is probably nothing like you. And that's by design, because companies like to hire very different people in certain functions. And so it is better to assume that anything is possible and people will act super different from you than to assume people will act like you.
Right.
And with that in mind, don't expect your manager to know what you want or to see your results.
Cannot. Yep.
Because it's fake.
There's too many people out in the world for them to just focus and worry about you.
Exactly. And also, like, they probably think nothing like you.
Yeah.
Right? I remember when I was in college and I used to have projects. There was one course I took where the way that we were put into teams was based on GPAs. So it was like 2 low GPAs, 2 medium GPAs, and then like 1 good GPA. I was the 1 good GPA.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, I divorced my team. But anyways, that's a story for another time. The main point that I had was in this group project, what I learned was my version of something being done with excellence was not even in some people's possible realm of anything.
Yeah.
Right? So don't assume people are like you. Don't assume people think like you. Don't assume people will treat other people like you, because it makes you incredibly naive.
Yeah.
And quite literally very easy to screw over. But like I said, I divorced my team, so enough said about that. Okay, going into red flags.
All right. What a great segue. If your partner, who is the smartest person in the group, divorces your group, that is a red flag, guys.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I couldn't take it.
Well, hey,
lost
but like, you're a boss now. Now you understand that you gotta let people, try.
Well, at the time though, this was for a grade that I was paying money for. At work, I'm being paid.
Right.
It's really different. There's a different
Right.
vibe here. Because I was not about to pay to get a C in a class because I let some numbnuts write out stuff that didn't make sense and not correctly read directions. You know what I mean? Like, that's not on me. That's on them.
Right.
Anyways, little T, enough about the divorcee and more about the red flags.
Red flags.
Number one,
Number
title
one.
change without pay increase. That is a red flag. It happens, I would say, sometimes more often than maybe you think.
But what if I feel
But
like it's insignificant? Like the title change is just so insignificant. I don't feel
It's
like I
probably
need
not a
more
promotion.
pay.
It's probably not a promotion, right? Like, you could be in the same role, and I used to work for a company that liked to create unicorn random ass names for job titles, like anything but what the
Right.
standard was for the job title we would use. So instead of like, I don't know, something like HR, it would be like evangelist of people. It was just a very unnecessary titles. At the end of the day, that's not so much a promotional title. I would say, like, if you go from being a data analyst to a data manager,
That's okay. Yeah.
right? That's different. And I think the main thing here is just like, it's just a red flag because sometimes what companies will do is they'll give you these promotions without a pay raise just in order to like keep you. And I think the thing you need to remember is take it so that you can make your resume look better, and the next job you go for, you can get a higher role with higher pay. But remember, it's a red flag.
Well, if that does happen, how do you ask? Like, how do you be
For
like,
a raise?
well, they just changed your title, and you're like, well, now you're not going to give me any money. But now that you know this new found information, how do you ask? How do you just be like, well,
You send them a Costco cake. There's more money. Question mark.
more money, please.
No, I'm kidding. There's a couple ways you can handle it. Okay, number one is when you're getting this title change, it depends on how it happens, but assuming that they come to you and they say, hey, we're so delighted to offer you this title change for everything you're doing, then you in turn respond and say, I'm glad you acknowledge everything I'm doing. Although I'm very grateful for the title, I also feel my compensation should reflect the additional responsibilities I'm formally taking on within this role.
Right. Okay. Okay.
That's your classic, right? Mm-hmm. Your less classic one is you move into that role, you do a couple things, like you get a little bit of here's some achievements,
Taste.
here's some gold stars.
Yeah.
And then you go back to them and you're like, gold stars plus everything I was doing before, more money, please.
Okay.
In a corporate acceptable way.
And if they say no, red flag.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they say no for no reason, red flag, right? Go tune into the raises episode again. Because
right.
if they're not giving you direction on it, then it's something. Now, if they say, no, we have a freeze right now on additional pay because we're in the middle of COVID, but I wanted to give you the additional title because you've been working so hard, you deserve the promotion. We can revisit this in 5 months when the freeze is supposed to be over. That's okay.
All right.
Okay. Big red flag is when promotions are based on popularity and not performance. Now, this is technically everywhere. But if it is in an grandiose, in-your-face kind of way where it's very clear that really bad workers are being promoted in lieu of incredibly talented workers, and this is kind of a widely known thing amongst the staff,
Right.
then yes, at that point it does become a red flag, because it's really just the employees who get close to leadership or are liked, you know, they're going to get promoted regardless of results, and that can just hurt morale. So
Yeah.
it really just signals how political this company may be, how biased the environment is, and ultimately the likelihood that your work will be undervalued. Remember, red flags aren't burn it all down and quit the job. Red flags are like, slow down a little bit, maybe pull over to the side and reassess.
Your difference and my difference in red flags are very different.
What are red flags like hard stops for you? Should we be doing
Yes.
orange flags?
Immediate run, maybe yellow flag.
Here's the thing, Lil T. You'll never work a day in your life if you run from every red flag.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Just
if it
sitting
is,
here,
like,
your boss-
so crazy, and I don't know, like, some of this shit that we be talking about is like, I would run, I would book it for the hell, girl.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
even. I'm
for
putting in
sure.
that 2 week. I'm gone.
Oh yeah, some red flags are a deeper red than others.
Right. We're in.
But I think the general idea is if your company has one of these, okay, like maybe they're having one bad person or one, who knows, right? Like,
no one's perfect.
like I said, no company is going to be green flags all the way 100% of the time. Like, it's just unheard of because people make mistakes. So shit's
Yes.
bound to happen. But
yes.
if it's like, I read this list and you're like, oh, wow, all 7 of the 10 are my day-to-day basis. At this point in time, we're a C, okay? And we need to go.
We need to leave.
Once you get into like a passing grade,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's time to reconsider.
Right.
You know? So, okay. Another red flag to look out for is the promotion process is vague or non-existent. Now, the reason we say this is a red flag is because in some companies, like smaller businesses, they may not have as detailed of a process
Yeah.
for promotions because they have an employee base of 4. So if they hire a 5th person, they probably don't even know what role that person will be doing in 1 year.
Yeah.
Now, that is technically a red flag because dependent on what type of career you want, that could be something that's seen as more unstable, unknown, whatever, higher risk, any of these things. However, the real interpretation of this is if you work for a Fortune 500 company and they have no promotion process, if your business and the company you work for is doing over 50 million a year and they don't have a promotion process for their people, red flag.
It's crazy.
Right?
50
'Cause
mil
without
not giving me a cent.
I mean, slightly different topic, but yes, not even giving me the pizza party designation role, which is ridiculous.
Right.
But really though, it's like without structure, promotions become very arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have structure in this process, what you're gonna see happen a lot is it's just made on who likes who. That's why smaller companies and startups are a lot more political, just because there's less formality, there's less structure. Now, we'd already talked about this, but if you're doing the job already and you don't have any formal recognition, red flag. Right? You're doing these higher responsibilities. You're told, a lot of the times you're told it's coming soon. Right? It's coming soon. But listen, employers will always take advantage of you. Right? Have you heard these stories of people who work in banking and like people have literally killed themselves / OD'd because they worked over 100-hour weeks?
No.
Yeah. A company is going to take advantage of you. That's why it's important to set boundaries. It's important to have a sense of what you're comfortable with and what you're okay with and what you're willing to give. Because when you don't set those, you can spend your whole life for somebody else.
That's crazy.
People be crazy, and jobs are stressful.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can get so sucked in to a job
Yeah.
that you just lose focus of everything else. I know I've done that. Okay. Similar trend, but your promotion promises keep getting delayed. After this project, or next quarter, or during the next review cycle, or when budget opens up. When budget opens up is stalling.
Yeah.
And if it's not stalling, it means your company doesn't know their financials, which is even scarier. Okay. Now, we've talked about this before in reviews, but we'll bring it back up here because this is similar. But surprise negative feedback right before promotion talks. So If all of a sudden you're hearing how bad you are at doing XYZ, or you're getting a lot more criticism than you were previously getting, and it's just in time for the promotion cycle or when you were supposed to talk about it with your boss, a lot of times managers do this to justify keeping someone in the same place. Point blank, toxic.
That's messed up.
Hey, they want the promotion too.
I
That
don't
budget.
care. They're just
You need
scared
to
because they
care,
know I'm
little
Betty.
T.
Because I come with all the receipts.
Hell yeah, documentation.
Are you?
Paper trail.
Pause. You're
Okay. Negative feedback, as a surprise, never cool. What's also not cool is when there's just no transparency at all about who got promoted or why people got promoted. A lot of times promotions can happen behind closed doors without much reasoning. This is more important, I think, to like your team members and your teammates, obviously, right? Because when you're getting a promotion, you want the company to be like advocating for your success. This person crushed it.
always.
Always doing a good job, always showing up and giving their best efforts, yada, 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 yada. They're so great. This is why they got promoted. But if there's no talk about it at all, it's just suspicious.
It's not you being sus.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Another common instance that you're going to see is sometimes managers will give you feedback, or leadership or somebody will tell you that you need to start acting like you're in the role first. And then this kind of becomes an indefinite connotation, which is basically, please do more work for less money to show us you can do the work, so that maybe one day we'll give you the money for the extra work.
Yeah.
Not cool. Red flag.
Right.
We mentioned this previous ones, but if your manager is avoiding the topic or dismissing the topic entirely, massive red flag.
Toxic nay.
It's just giving who's your manager, okay, and who'd you pick, because obviously not a good person.
Right.
But it shows a lack of development interests, right? They're not trying to excel your skill set or develop your seniority within the business. And so it's just red flag. And then the last similar one to raises is promotions only happen when someone quits.
Oh, yeah.
If you're only seeing it happen when somebody quits, it just shows how bad the leadership pipeline is and how bad their planning is. And at the end of the day, how limited the growth opportunities are within a business.
Yeah.
So, to wrap it up, promotions are one of the most misunderstood and emotionally charged milestones that you're going to have in your career. You're taught from an early on stage in life that you are rewarded from hard work, but that is not how the reality is. A lot of times, rewards in adult life come from visibility, timing, internal politics, and even just the company's priorities. In school, if you do a good job on the test, you get a good grade. In life, if you do a good job on the test and you don't tell everyone that you got a good grade, did you get a good grade?
Right.
In this episode, we broke down really what promotions look like inside of companies, processes, types, forms, all these fun things. And then, of course, our favorite section of red flags. And I think the biggest one and the key takeaway is don't assume that you're going to get a promotion.
Never.
Advocate and fight for yourself.
Yep.
You are your only champion.
Right.
And if you want to grow, you can't wait to be noticed. Put yourself up front, volunteer for those extra projects. And whatever you do, if you take on the title of pizza party designated planner, hit me up. We can share notes. If you found today's episode helpful or help you rethink how promotions work, please send it to a friend. Keep us in your subscription and follow us on all of our socials. We're here to talk about the good, the bad, petty, the ugly, and all of the boring stuff that comes with corporate life. Next time, we're going to dig into some other aspects of corporate fields, specifically talking about bonuses. So back on that money track.
Need that.
And until next time, keep yourself at the front of your conversation and stay smart. Paper trails.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.